Hey, what's up guys? This is DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm going to be doing a Drytron deck profile. So I'm really excited this week guys because this deck is a really amazing deck that goes into some crazy awesome ritual plays. Being able to summon out one of the craziest ritual monsters in the game in the form of Herald of Ultimateness and using these Cyber Angel monsters to get all sorts of different pluses. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Drytron Alpha Thubin. So Drytron Alpha Thubin is a really awesome card that has a really amazing effect. That all your Drytrons share the ability that they cannot be normal summoned or set. They must be special summoned with the effect of a Drytron card, and you contribute one other Drytron or a ritual monster from your hand or field to special summon them from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Then they all get unique effects. For example, Alpha Thubin lets you add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then they all also share the ability that you cannot special summon monsters except monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set the turn you activate this effect. So that's something really neat to keep in mind while you're playing with your Drytron monsters. Is basically all you have to remember about them is they all share the same effect and they have the ability, they have different effects of different searching. We then play 3 copies of Drytron Zeta. Drytron Zeta actually lets us search a ritual spell when it gets summoned, which is a really good effect. Then we play 3 copies of Drytron Gamma. Drytron Gamma has the ability that when this card is special summoned, you get to special summon a Drytron monster with 2000 attack from your graveyard, which helps us go in for rank 1s and link plays, which is really good. And then I play a single copy of Drytron Delta. Drytron Delta is a unique one that has the ability that if this card is special summoned, you get to reveal a ritual monster or ritual spell in your hand, and if you do, draw a card, which is pretty good just to be able to give you that additional draw. We then play 3 copies of Diviner of the Herald. I am proxying these 3. If you guys want to check out how to make proxies, I have a video on how to do it, but I am actually proxying these because I currently don't have diviners. But I really wanted to do this for you guys because this deck is an absolutely crazy build. This card has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you get to send a fairy monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, increase this card's level by that monster's level until the end of the turn. And if this card is tributed, you get to special summon 1 level 2 or lower fairy monster from your hand or deck except another copy of yourself, which this card is a really good card just to give us all sorts of different abilities with the effect of normal summoning this card to be able to send a card from our extra deck to the graveyard, which is just really good to send cards like your Herald of the Arclight from the extra deck to the graveyard to get you additional searches. We then play 3 copies of Herald of the Orange Light. Herald of the Orange Light is a really good card in this deck as well, because this card comes in really handy as a hand trap because it has the ability when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can send this card and 1 other fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation if you do destroy that card. This card's really good, especially in comboed with one of the other cards we play, which is going to be our single copy of Eva. Eva is really insane in this deck because Eva has an ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish 2 other light fairy monsters from the field or the graveyard to add the same number of level 2 or lower light fairy monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, which is a really awesome effect to get us that double search and be able to go in for some really insane plays. We then play for our ritual monsters. I'm playing a single copy of Drytron Meteonis. So this card is so good in this deck. This card is like one of the best cards right now in this entire deck. I love the way this card plays. It handles so many cards because it has the ability that you can ritual summon this card with Meteonis Drytron, and your opponent cannot target this card with monster effects. And if the total levels of the monsters that you use to ritual summon this card was 2 or less, which it always is in this deck, then it gains the ability that it can attack all special summoned monsters your opponent controls once each as a 4,000 attack monster. That is so good. Then it also has the ability that during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can banish monsters you control, or during your opponent's turn, you can banish monsters from your graveyard whose combined attack equals 2 or 4,000. Then target a face-up monster, or target a face-up card your opponent controls for every 2,000 that you banished for this effect, and send those cards to the graveyard. That is really good to give you that spot removal during your opponent's turn as a disruption as well. We then play a single copy of Herald of the Ultimateness. This card is just so good in this deck because it has the ability that it basically is going to give you negation after negation. So that's really, really good by just sending a fairy type monster from your hand to the graveyard to negate the special summon of an opponent's monster if you do destroy that card. And during either player's turn when an opponent would special summon a monster or activate a spell or trap or a monster effect, you can just send a fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard to negate that effect. That is so good. It's super easy to summon in this deck because your Drytron's ritual summon off of attack. So this card has 2,000 attack, so it's very, very easy to summon in this deck. Play a single copy of Benton because we can only play one Benton. If this card is tributed, you get to add a light fairy monster from your deck to your hand. A single copy of Edatin and a single copy of Natasha. These are basically here just for the utility of using your Cyber Angel monsters. They're really, really good in the deck. I really love playing all three of these, but you really only need one each. We then play a single copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon and a single copy of Dark Magician because you can actually go into Dragoons in this deck, and it's a really powerful card in this particular build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Red Eyes Fusion. Red Eyes Fusion is here because it helps us go into our copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoons, which is a super powerful monster in this deck. One copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is here because it's going to send the exact card you need to the graveyard when you need it. One copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave just stops our opponent's hand traps, which is why I play this card as a 1-of in this deck. Two copies of Triple Tactical Talents. Triple Tactical Talents is here because if our opponent does hand trap us, usually we can bounce back anyways, but this card just comes in handy because you can use it to draw 2 more cards, which can help us get to more Drytrons, more ritual spells, more monsters, and it's just an overall really, really good 2-of in the deck. We then play just a single copy of Drytron Fafnir. When this card is activated, you can add a Drytron spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So I use this card with basically using it to get out my copy of Drytron Nova. We play a single copy or 2 copies of Drytron Meteorus. Meteorus Drytron is just a really good ritual spell. You use monsters based on their attack points and not their levels to ritual summon monsters. So this card is pretty much here to ritual summon any monster in the deck because this card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster from your hand or graveyard, but you must also tribute machine monsters in order to ritual summon that monster, which basically you're just using this with your copies of your Drytron monsters to ritual summon out literally anything in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Drytron Nova, which lets us special summon a Drytron monster from the deck, which is really good. We then play 2 copies of Pre-Prep of Rites. Pre-Prep of Rites works really well in this deck because it lets us add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from our deck to our hand, which can search out our copies of our Cyber Angels from our deck to our hand, and then also lets us add a ritual spell from our graveyard to our hand, which can be our copies of Minionis, which you don't have to activate that second effect. You can just use this card to search out a ritual monster. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Emergency. Cyber Emergency is here because it can actually search any of our copies of our Drytron monsters, because they are light machine monsters that cannot be normal summon or set, which is a great card to be able to use in this deck because it lets us turn all of our Drytron monsters essentially into 9-ofs in this deck because you have the 3 copies of Nova, the 3 copies of Emergency, and the 3 copies of Alpha Thuban, Gamma, and Zeta. So you have really easy ways to grab any of those cards that you need. You can even say it's a 10-of with your copy of Drytron Fafnir. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm just playing a single copy of Drytron Mu Beta Fafnir. Mu Beta Fafnir is a great card, but I really don't feel like I need more than 1 of it. You can play 2, but I just find 1 to be plenty. What this card does is when you ritual summon, you can detach materials from this card for the requirements of the ritual summon. You can only use the following effects of this card once per turn. If this card is Xyz summon, you can send a Drytron card from your deck to the graveyard. And when your opponent activates a spell or trap effect, while you control a machine ritual monster, quick effect, you can detach a material from this card and negate the activation to destroy that card. It's a really good card, but I just find that I need 1 of it. We then play a single copy of the level 1 or the rank 1 bird. This card is really good because it lets you go into Zeus really easily. It's unaffected by other card effects, and then once per turn quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from it, and for the rest of the turn, it cannot be destroyed in battle, and you take no battle damage from battles involving it. So you can basically use this, detach both the materials, attack into something, and then make a copy of Downard, and then make a copy of Zeus to give it 2 materials on the Zeus to be able to then board wipe, which is really good, which we do play a single copy of Downard and a single copy of Zeus, just to give you that ability to go into those plays. We then play a single copy of Beatrice. Beatrice is here because she gets you the exact dump that you need to be able to send from the deck to the graveyard, which is really good. Basically, Foolish Barreling a card from the deck to the graveyard. You make her really easily with your copy copies of your copies of your Cyber Angels. So you're going to use this card all the time in this deck for the combos. We're playing 2 copies of Herald of the Arclight because you send it with Diviner of the Herald to the graveyard to get that search, which is really good, or the ritual spell or the ritual monster. We play a single copy of Elder Entity Nist because it is a fairy monster, so it gives us that additional pop, which is really good. 1 copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoons because this card gives us all sorts of pops all over the place. It's pretty much a walking tank. It can be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects. It also can destroy up to 2 monsters on the field, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of those monsters, and it's a walking negate by discarding a card. This card is absolutely crazy. Oh, and did I mention it also gains 1,000 attack points when you do negate it, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Boral Sword just to help us go in for game, 1 copy of Appaloosa to give us those additional monster negations, Unicorn to spin stuff, IP to go into Unicorn during our opponent's turn, which is really good for this deck to be able to do, 1 copy of Predaplant Verte Anaconda because you can make your copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoons with this, and it's very easy to end on a copy of Anaconda to then go into the copy of Dragoons, and a single copy of Linkriba because we are playing so many level 1s in this deck. So this card comes in very handy to protect the Dragoons because usually the only way that they're going to get through the Dragoons is by either Kaijuing it, which we have no way to protect it from a Kaiju, or attacking through it, which the Linkriba can protect it from that. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. I really love the way that this one came out. If you guys want to check out how to make those proxies, if there's ever a card that you guys just can't afford for the game, like copies of Red Eyes Dark Dragoons or stuff like that, you can actually make them just to play test. You can't take them into a tournament, but if you guys want to check out that video, it is on the channel. It is an awesome video, and it's actually like 100,000 views, so if you guys want to check that out, it is over there. Just check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Perfect Proxies, but don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.